Yo, so what's up, my peeps? So check this out, man. We're gonna get into a video, man, about Drake's crashing out over the, the performance of the new album between him and Partynextdoor. You know, some sexy songs for you. I mean, to be honest, man, he's Drake, man. So I can't really blame him for freaking out about it, man. Because let's be honest, man, the album is mid at best, man, mid level, close to trash, man. You know what I'm saying? The album is very, very. It's not good. Put it that way. The album is not good. Because even his fans are furious, man. The album is not good. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, man, projection sales ain't looking good for Drake new album, man. It's not looking good at all, man. I'm not surprised, man. Anyway, I personally, I don't like Drake, man. Never liked Drake. I made that known on my channel. Never really liked Drake. So that's why, to see Kendrick destroy him like that was, it was a good time in hip hop, man. It was a good time in hip hop. But this album is not something I expected from him. I expected more from Drake coming back after what happened. You get what I'm saying? Especially after the Super Bowl. I expected way more. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? I guess it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Boy's spiraling out of control and he keeps spiraling, man. So before we get into this video, man, shout out to y'all for being here. Let's go, man.
Now, when it comes to Drake, after everything that has been going on with SSS for You, we have finally gotten sales projections for how this thing is doing, and with what we have seen, Drake is projected to put up one of the worst weeks of his entire career by far. And now what is clear from this is that both when it comes to Drake's status as a top rapper and star, his spot is gone there because he isn't just getting outperformed by Kendrick Lamar now, but also so many other rappers as well. But also when it comes to the case that Drake is trying to claim about him being sabotaged by the entire industry and his label, that Drake is also straight up lying about that, which overall has made every single thing for Drake never look worse. And now before we go any further into this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And just as I have said in my past few videos, the Drake fans are still mad at me for telling the truth, and it's only getting worse, so please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton, and it is really more needed than ever. And so now when it comes to Drake and these numbers, we have finally gotten those first week projections for this 21 song mess he released with Partynextdoor, and what this album is expected to put up is 250,000 copies moved in its first week, which in that 28,000 are from pure copies. Which before we go any further into this, keep in mind that GNX just did 247,000 months after its release this week.
Yo, do y'all know how crazy that is? That GNX after all this time. Remember, GNX was released on the 22nd of November last year. In 2024. 22nd of November. Fam, this is months. This is like what? This is like almost 3 months later, man. In a couple of days, it will be like 3 months later since Kendrick released GNX. And GNX, I know he did the Super Bowl, but the Super Bowl also have to contribute to all these numbers too. But do you understand how crazy that is that after all this time, week by week, Kendrick Lamar is still doing these kind of units per week? Bro, come on, fam. And Drake just dropped a brand new, fresh album. Barely a week old. A brand new, fresh album. And he still hasn't even pulled in these numbers. And that's Drake. You get what I'm saying? Yo, that is crazy, fam.
While these opening numbers may not seem the worst for other artists, and if we compare them to Drake's Honestly Nevermind album, they are actually better, when you just understand how the streaming models work and how these numbers can become very misleading quickly as artists like Drake try to play this game to give themselves the best numbers possible, you'll clearly see that with the truth these numbers hold, they are terrible and the worst Drake has ever had, as all in all, they are clearly indicating that Drake has lost more than we could have ever expected from this beef, and even with the same methods that gave him massive streaming debuts in the past with bad albums like For All the Dogs and CLB, these same old games did not work here. And now when it comes to just how bad this has all gotten for Drake, I don't even need to try and explain how serious this downfall is at this point, because none other than Big Ak put it into perspective for us of how much of a flop this thing is for Drake, as he went on a massive rant where he was trying to cope with the fact that even with an entire new album, Drake has continued to lose because things are still getting a lot worse for them. And now
imagine his big boy Ak, Akka Diddy, you know what I'm saying? Shout out Screwface John for that one, man. If this guy look at Drake and say, bro, listen, your album is trash. Yeah, that's it, bro. This guy Academics right here, this is Drake's biggest Ryder right here, his biggest glazer, even worse than OVO Mal. This guy right here. Yeah, bro, you know, if that be the case, yo, Drake, you know you're in some problems, man. Because apparently some of the songs that are on Drake's album, it's going around now that from even T-Pain's mouth that most of those songs are like recycled old songs that didn't make it onto old albums. You know what I'm saying? They weren't good enough to make it on old album, but this he put out for people on Valentine's Day talking about this is some R&B stuff. Then, you know, your boy Partynextdoor is gonna come and talk about, yeah, this is some songs for you to F with. You know, F with your girl and all this kind of stuff. And these are songs that you would play to, you know, get women and all this kind of stuff. Man, get out of here, bro. Yeah, to get strippers maybe, fam, but those ain't no kind of women to be going after, bro. You know what I'm saying? Those are just strippers, fam. I know what kind of caliber women you're talking about, boy. This ain't no album for no one to sex you or nothing like that, man. Get out of here with that rubbish, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's some rubbish coming, because like I said, T-Pain was saying that these are some old songs that wasn't even worthy of being on Drake's old albums. Can you imagine that, man? So this is what Drake thinks his fans deserve, man. This is what Drake thinks his fans deserve. So instead of spending all the last 9 months since he's lost the battle, instead of spending that time doing quality music for his fans to even try and make a comeback, he's there dropping lawsuits and all this kind of stuff. That just goes to show you, man, Drake's game is not in the music right now, man. Drake's mind, his brain, his game, nothing is in the music right now. I mean, yeah, he's over there doing his concert and all this kind of stuff because, yeah, Drake still has deal with UMG, that he still has money to pay UMG. He still has to fulfill his deal. You get what I'm saying? He still has obligations that he has to fulfill. And don't forget about that, man. But Drake's mind is not in the music right now, man. Because if that's what he thinks his fans deserve, yo, I'm not gonna lie, man. For you OVO supporters, man, I feel sorry for y'all, man. That kind of real note, I feel sorry for y'all, man.
Now, what act did that embarrassed everybody was try to cope with these numbers in some of the most ridiculous ways possible, like saying the performance of collab albums always meet in the middle of the respective artist's popularity, which in of itself, Ack explaining numbers and really trying to justify them is something that he has never done. And overall with this claim he is making, it is an absolute lie, and even with Drake himself, this rule he is trying to apply here was not true when Drake made albums with people like Future and 21 Savage, as those records put up massive numbers, so what's the difference here? Of course, other than the fact that Drake just did not deliver a musical experience that was worthwhile to the people. And now between this ridiculous rule Ack is trying to make, and him admitting that he was hiding releasing the early projections before this, which were around 175,000, along with so many other pathetic and desperate posts, I mean, when you see the ridiculous things that Ack has tried to do to explain how this is somehow a victory for Drake, I mean, winners don't have to explain themselves this much, and neither do people who are not trying.
I don't need to explain anything, man. DJ Academics is like this toxic look of cancer in the culture, man. That guy is just on Drake, just riding Drake, man. Just on Drake. And it is what it is, man. You ain't gonna change, bro. You made it clear that you ain't gonna change. Drake is always gonna be his boy, and that's it.
Trying to change the perception of the reality we are all seeing, and especially after these same people were calling Kendrick Lamar doing 319,000 first week of flop themselves. Using their logic, this thing is even worse than we could have ever expected. And now with this
imagine Kendrick dropped GNX, the 319k total for the first week. A surprise album at that. Zero promotion, zero anything. No one had an idea that the album was going to drop on that day. I mean, some people had an idea that an album was going to drop sometime soon, like in the next couple of days, but no one knew when it was going to drop. You know, because Screwface John actually did like a prediction that GNX was coming. You know, I didn't know like exactly when, but when it dropped, the surprise album, bro, no promotion, no one knew nothing about it, man. Except a few people had hints and tips that, yo, an album may drop. You get me? But no one knew about it, man. Then 319k in the first week, man. Yo, bro, that is huge. That is a milestone, fam, for a surprise album that no one knew was coming. This album people knew about months and months and months ago, from last year.
250,000. What makes this so bad and really not comparable to what Kendrick Lamar did at all is that first off, beyond the fact that GNX just did 247,000 the week before this album dropped, which is just showing the longevity that record is having, which of course, while this is boosted by the Super Bowl, for it to rival Drake's first week numbers, it's overall something that no other artist has done, and it is really a sentiment to the quality of that project. And in addition to this, when you understand that GNX is a 12-track album, which meant that it overall gained less streams than albums that are much longer than it, and of course, in this entire era of streaming, rappers and artists like Drake make their albums so much longer intentionally to run up.
And this is the reason why the Super Bowl is so important and why musicians don't really get paid for it, man. The exposure and the impact that it can have on your career is amazing.
These numbers as much as they can. Kendrick not following this and only worrying about making a record full of great songs and not ever thinking about the numbers and still seeing the success he did really just puts GNX and Kendrick in a league of their own, as the numbers he did with such a small track list is something that no other artist in this era of hip-hop has come close to, and really it's something that most artists in general would never even consider doing because they do not believe in their own craft enough to have this type of success without bending the rules. And really, just to put into perspective how bad all of this really is for Drake in this album, GNX did over 360 million streams with just 12 songs, while Drake's album is looking like it's going to do around 150 million with 21 songs, which of course adds 9 more streams to each listen through, which then of course gives these platforms more music to put everywhere. And again, just to put things into perspective, if Kendrick's album had this many songs, well, there's no perfect calculation. If you break down how many people had to listen to GNX for it to reach the number of streams that it did, with nearly double the track list size, it could have done around 600 million streams, which would be a record, and that's the real difference of where these two rappers are at. And so with Drake now doing Honestly Nevermind numbers with an album that is as long as For All the Dogs, the first week numbers show an almost 50% decrease in people listening to Drake, and there are no excuses around this because the album did get pushed by the industry despite what Drake is saying. Because we have all seen it at the front of platforms, but it just did not get listened to as much as Drake records in the past did, which has been made very clear by the fact that GNX is already out streaming it daily and the record just came out. And overall, as Drake's numbers are going down faster than we have ever seen, very similar to what happened earlier this year with Lil Baby and his album When. Despite bringing in lower numbers with this record than he did in the past, his team was still able to prop this thing up and do the work it needed to so that it got a #1 debut, and that so its numbers looked strong when it dropped. But now, as we have seen in the following weeks, and again in this industry, it's hard to fake numbers for this long and you will always find out the truth at some point. And the music is just not as good, and therefore it has fallen off way quicker than his last albums have as a whole. And with this album from Drake and Party, I am sure when it comes to people actually listening and tapping into this record, this is exactly what we are going to see, because in every single way possible, everything for Drake is really showing that after this beef now, from streams to total albums moved, he is about 50% of what he was worth. And now while if Drake was still doing these numbers and was just okay with where he was at, there would be nothing left to say about this, as Drake is still the guy who thinks he's bigger than the industry and who wants a deal that even Taylor Swift does not have, and that's why he's gotten so deep into the problems he currently is in with his label.
Oh, that's mad, bro. You want a deal larger than Taylor Swift, bro? Get out of here, fam. You're not rolling like Taylor Swift, fam. Get out of here, bro.
I mean, what is clear going forward is that these types of numbers just do not allow you to walk around like you are better than the rest of the industry, because so many rappers now like Kendrick, Eminem, Tyler, Travis Scott, and a lot others are doing better numbers than Drake with ease. And if this is the new standard he is setting, then he is only going to continue to decline down this list. And so overall, what the lesson that Drake is going to have to learn from this is that if he wants to ever have any sort of decent success again, he is going to have to learn that he is not bigger than the industry and that he has to be okay with not being in that top tier of artists anymore in terms of who is moving things forward. But
yeah, but you see, that's the thing about it, man. And let me know in the comments if y'all think the same way I think when I say what I'm about to say, man. Drake has not grown as an artist. Because if you look at the songs on the album and what he's been saying, even on stage, you know, and on his tour in Sydney, you know, Australia, Drake has not grown as an artist for his age. Drake is damn near 40 years old, man. Drake is not, he hasn't grown as an artist, man. He's saying what he was saying at the same age as 25. You know what I'm saying? Drake has not grown as an artist. His craft has not evolved. His craft has not been refined. He's just saying the exact same things as he did back when he was 25. There's nothing about this guy's music that has grown. Nothing that's transcendent about his music, because nothing has changed. He's saying the exact same thing he was saying at 25. Bro, you're damn near 40 years old, man. You've had all that time to, transform your craft, make better quality music. Music of substance. Music that grown people can relate to even. This guy's still out there talking about he want to get the party lit, popping champagne and all that. Bro, no. To be honest, man, no one really wants to hear that kind of stuff right now, man. That is like a younger generation, like a Gen Zs, man. They're out there doing their little thing. But let's be honest, man. Your core fan base of people, like, who's been there with, like, in the start of your career, bro, honestly, they don't want to hear all that kind of stuff, man. I mean, that's crazy, bro. You as an artist been in the game for like 15 years now, almost 20 years. You're going to tell me that you haven't evolved your craft, like, at all, bro? At all? You're still saying the same things you were saying at 25. You're talking about get the party lit. You're doing this and all the women and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, at that age, 25, of course, people understand that, man. You're 25 years old, bro. In your 20s, that's the time to explore your life, man. You know what I'm saying? Gain experience, gain perspective on things. Yeah, we expected that from 25-year-old Drake, but not Drake pushing almost 40 years old, man. Your music literally has not grown at all, man. Look at him, J. Cole. Look how much J. Cole music has changed from back then when he was even signed with Jay-Z to where J. Cole's music is now. It's completely evolution, man. Even K-Dot's music has been evolutionized, man. This is Drake's problem, man. Drake still thinks he's like a young 25-year-old boy, man.
Even if Drake doesn't want to realize this, as between the support this record got and the numbers it's doing, which overall is showing that Drake has failed and he's not being blocked and suppressed by the industry, his entire case with his label and what he is trying to prove there never looks worse as well, because Drake's numbers have not fallen off to the point where something looks off in terms of the industry having their hand in it. But it only looks like this record just flopped compared to the usual standards he held himself to, because things have changed and people don't care about his music anymore. And so overall, as we are now at a point where after this beef, Kendrick Lamar has shown that he can make an album that is way more efficient in terms of its track list length, and it's outperforming Drake's record, which is almost double the size. In an industry like this, the more songs you have, the more clearances needed to make music, which then of course means there is a lot more going into what Drake is putting out, which means there is more resources needed. Overall, Kendrick Lamar is showing why he is the best person to lead hip-hop forward, as both an art and in terms of how it will move forward in the industry, because between having the people behind him to just being able to create music that is giving way bigger returns, and that's also using way less, overall, there's really no need for what a guy like Drake is doing, as it is just inefficient and is bringing the entire industry back to a place where hip-hop is stuck and is only declining. And now, when these numbers come out officially, and they may even end up being a little lower, Drake and everyone around him are going to try to make all the narratives they possibly can to explain why they have seen such a big drop-off between all of the major albums they've put out. Don't let this distract you from the fact that even when Drake dragged this project out and made it way longer than it ever had to be, which you can clearly tell based on how many bad and boring songs are on this thing, which of course all of this was done intentionally to give the record the biggest streaming push possible, that even with this, Drake still lost to Kendrick Lamar and so many other MCs and artists, and now with Drake being way down in the industry ladder in terms of what artists are the most valuable with everything going on, as despite the numbers no longer being on his side, his ego has still not changed and he still believes he is the top guy in this thing, all of this is gonna get a lot worse, and it's overall gonna make the disaster that is this album and era of his career have worse effects than we could have ever known. And so now with all this said, let me know, what do you think of the projections from Drake, how he lost to Kendrick, and what do you think is going to happen now that Drake's 20+ song projects are doing half of what they used to? Well, I can't wait to hear what you have to say, and if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, as just as I said earlier, it is more important than ever. And now,
yeah, man, shout out to, Fantastic People for that video, but I'm saying, man, this album is not it, bro. If this is what you really think your fans deserve, I feel sorry for the your fans, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. I feel sorry for y'all, man. Because this album was not it, man. There may be like 3 tracks on there that you could look and say, yeah, Give Me a Hug was the most banging track on there. I'm not gonna lie, but it doesn't hit. It doesn't hit how it should hit because of the lawsuit. It does not hit at all because of the lawsuit. There's bars in there, like in proper gangster bars in there, but it's not gonna hit because you're a snitch, bro. You're a coward, fam. And you proved it by filing lawsuits, bro. And that's the problem with this entire narrative that you've been trying to push, man. You know what I'm saying? Say, shout out to y'all, man. If you reach this far in the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, man. Help me out a ton. You know what I'm saying? Respect y'all for being here, man. About to get out of here now, man. Peace.